OK, let's start, though, with the developments around Manchester City's financial issues with the Premier League. They've been accused of breaking more than 100 rules, with problems ranging from the reporting of revenue to failing to cooperate with a Premier League investigation. Our chief reporter, Kaveh Solokol, is here with me on set now. So, Kaveh, what's been the reaction? We were saying just a few moments ago, what's been the reaction from the rest of the Premier League to what we heard yesterday?
My sense is that many of the other Premier League clubs would actually want Manchester City to potentially be relegated if they were found guilty of all these charges, because these charges are unprecedented and this is a very serious matter as far as they're concerned. Of course, Manchester City yesterday said they were very surprised that these charges had been brought, and they've always insisted that they have done nothing wrong. But if the Independent Commission finds them guilty, one of the most severe punishments that they can recommend to the Premier League board is expulsion from the Premier League. Now, there's been lots of talks that maybe if they were found guilty, some of their titles from the past could be taken away.
Wouldn't the other teams want that, because it might mean they got the title? Or?
I don't think so. I think my sense is that there's always been a feeling in football that you don't really want to go back and change Premier League or any league tables from the past, because that leads to a lot of confusion, and basically it's meaningless because you've missed out on winning the title in the past. You're not going to get the ceremony to celebrate with your fans. So I don't sense there's much of an appetite for that. Also, potentially, if they were found guilty, what about a fine? Again, I think, Premier League clubs generally are so rich that, that fines don't really affect them. Now, I've also been told that up to now, until yesterday, the clubs who'd been pushing hardest for these charges to be brought were some of the other members of the so-called Big Six. Now, that's not surprising that Manchester City's rivals would be looking for any kind of advantage that they could get. I've also been told, not surprisingly, if Manchester City were found guilty, there would not be much sympathy for them amongst the other Premier League clubs. But I have to stress, as far as the other Premier League clubs are concerned, they don't want to get involved in this. They don't want to interfere in the process. It is all going to be dealt with by an independent commission, which they have absolutely nothing to do with.
In terms of yesterday, we got the sense, certainly from Vinny, who was outside the Etihad, that City weren't happy the way that this was brought about. They felt it was kind of a shock announcement. They were still on the phone, I believe, whilst the statement was made public. How did it kind of go out internally with the club, with the rest of the staff and the players? How were they told?
I think as far as Manchester City are concerned, they've always said that they have done nothing wrong. They believe that these charges should never have been brought. That was their position all along with the UEFA investigation as well. I think as far as yesterday were concerned, you have to feel some sympathy for the Premier League as well, because this is such a serious matter. Of course, they would want it to all be coordinated so that nobody knew about it before Manchester City were informed. And my reading of events yesterday was that the Premier League did everything by the book. I believe couriers were sent to Manchester City's offices with the paperwork. A phone call was made. The announcement was not briefed to any journalists. The first anybody knew about it was when it appeared on the Premier League website.
Right.
But of course, I can understand why people at Manchester City would feel that other people have it in for them. And as we talked about yesterday, maybe the players, Pep Guardiola, will develop a kind of siege mentality as far as events and performance on the pitch are concerned. Maybe they'll come out fighting and feel, look, everyone's against us. Let's show them what we're really all about.
But you'd think that there was real uncertainty, because if the players are only finding out about this kind of almost like a drip feed, because, like say that the phone call was made, there was a Premier League statement, they could have easily seen that before they'd almost spoken to the club. So that whole uncertainty of staff, of everyone that works for Manchester City, really hanging over them at the moment, something they really don't need in terms of them trying for a title at the moment.
Yeah, of course. I mean, of course it could potentially affect their performances, but in the past, Pep Guardiola has always said look, I speak to the people upstairs, I deal with them, leave that to me. And I also run the football side of the operation. They're two separate things. I think he'll be concentrating on making sure that the players just focus on matters on the pitch and nothing else.
All right, Carvey, thanks for now. No doubt you'll be here throughout the afternoon for us.